Hi and happy full moon. Happy last full moon of the year and of the decade. We have a Gemini full moon tonight at 12:12, possibly 12:11 or 12:13 EST. So that means if you are on the East Coast of the United States, it will be after midnight tonight. And if you are on the West Coast, it will be today, the 11th, tonight. And as always, look up your time zone to know the exact time and date for this full moon. But inevitably, we are entering the full moon energy today. It is present. The moon has been in Gemini since yesterday, the 10th. And this is a big energetic opening, a big energetic pool right now that we are working with and really working through. This may not be an easy full moon, and that's because all full moons deal with releasing energy, allowing ending, bringing things to a close so that we can begin a new phase. Every full moon and new moon cycle, we experience that. But this full moon specifically, we are experiencing a release of emotions, experiences that we have had in store for possibly a decade. This is likely to be a very activating full moon in the memories that it brings up, the people that it brings in, and also the way in which we are able to ascend or to assess our current situation. When we think about the polarity between Gemini and Sagittarius, which is what we deal with the full moon, the sun is in Sagittarius, the moon is in Gemini. When we think about that polarity, it's really about information, a collection, dynamacy. It's dealing with data, right? And then the right way to decipher that data. How do we organize information? How do we organize our experiences? How do we categorize our emotions, right? With this Gemini full moon, we are likely to have emotional overloading, where there are so many different things coming through our mind, coming to us, either externally or internally, or both. And our job is to really understand how to work with that information. This is a very good time to bring things to a close, and it can be things, again, that have been with you for a long time, such as old relationships that have been present in your psyche or even in your life still. It's a really, really good time to bring those to an end. So that means if you have, an ex or someone who you were with who is still really much in your thoughts, in your life, taking up your energy in some way, this is a really good time to end that. Delete numbers, remove yourself from their life in any way that you can, and even maybe do a ritual around that release. Allow emotions out, right? Do you need to cry? Do you need to get angry? What emotions have you not let out? And that goes with any of those kind of emotions. It's really about bringing things to a close, bringing things to an end. We cannot move forward until we really close what's already present, until we open up space. This full moon is about releasing so that we can open up space. That said, we have a conjunction with Venus and Saturn and a wider conjunction with Pluto. That conjunction was exact yesterday on the 10th. Venus is the planet of romance, of love, of values. Saturn is wisdom, responsibility, progress. Pluto is a very societal planet, and it can come with a lot of baggage, a lot of weight. When we think about these planets coming together right before this full moon and the energy still being present in this full moon, this is a real signifier of relationships, of romance. It's not necessarily saying that it's time to start a new romance, though that may be something that occurs after this full moon specifically. What we need to do this full moon in order to step into the relationship that we want, into the dynamic that we want in our existing relationship, is to release the old baggage, is to release the old people, the old attachments. That's really what this full moon is about, is releasing things. And it might not mean something so literal. It might not mean cutting someone out of your life. Maybe they're already out of your life. Maybe they've been out of your life. It's likely going to relate more to the values that you hold about relationships, the patterns that you have about relationships, and the way that you really assess the information in a relationship. And this Gemini full moon is taking place in 19 degrees of Gemini. And so 19 holds its own meaning. 19 is a very dynamic number. It deals with the number 1, which is about self, identity, presence. And it deals with the number 9, which is about the depths of possibilities. It relates a lot to manifestations, to the things that we have deep rooted in ourselves, to the inner workings, to the subconscious, to really the power that we have to awaken, to align, to change our lives. So when we think about those numbers together, the 1 and the 9, this is a really prominent time to align your life. This is a really prominent time to take back your destiny, to really go forward with a plan for what you want next year to look like, for what you want to release and what you want to bring in. Pay attention to what shows up for you today and tomorrow. Pay attention to symbols, to people, to what they say, the specific words that you are seeing repetitively, to numbers you may see repetitively. Pay attention to that. Just really take awareness, take accountability, take inventory of the things that show up for you. I want to recommend this practice for anybody this full moon. Think about an experience, just start with one, an experience that you still think impacts you today, that is still in your psyche, an old relationship, whatever it is, something that really hurt you, and it could be friendships, anything really dealing with values, love, attachment. Think about that, and I want to invite you to safely, do it with loved ones or do it in an environment where you feel safe, to go back to that time mentally and emotionally and really think about all different sides of that situation. Try to imagine where everyone in that situation was coming from, what was going on in their lives. Try to imagine the information that you may have missed that did not complete the entire story. You may find that you will go back to an experience and that you will uncover or unpack things that either you forgot about or things that you just totally missed. And this can be a very charged practice. And so it's not for everyone, and it's only if you feel called to do something like this, but this can be a very empowering practice for really releasing an old situation that you have been attached to the story of, right? What stories have you been telling yourself about someone or something that has happened to you? Where have you been victim? Where have you been the victim? And lastly, I just want to say that this is likely to be a very engaging full moon. Now is not the time to make big decisions. We can think of this energy similarly to Mercury retrograde time, just because we are dealing with Mercury energy with Gemini, and we're dealing with a lot of overwhelm, and it's hard to decipher and discern. It's hard to make proper decisions right now. Really just take care of yourself. If you feel like you are emotionally overloaded, informationally overloaded, just give yourself some space. Take care of yourself as you would a good friend. Don't force yourself into making decisions. Don't force yourself into relationships right now or into one-night romances or something that you are not going to thank yourself for tomorrow, but that is going to alleviate you today. This is a real time to release, not to go deeper into those emotions. And it's hard to find the balance between that, but if you can just find your breath, find your own space today, and just really work with the emotions rather than putting them away. If they come up, find a way to release them. Cry, dance, sing, yell, do whatever you gotta do. Try to release some emotion, and I promise if you can release even just a little bit of emotion, thank yourself for it, hug yourself for it, love yourself for it, and you will likely feel better going into this new year, going into this new decade. So I hope that this full moon you take some space to yourself to really just observe, find awareness, use integrity and intention. It's going to be a bit harder to do that than it usually is. You may feel very triggered, very activated, very charged, very impulsive. If you can, just try to breathe through those emotions. Try not to act on them. But also at the end of the day, just be loving to yourself, be compassionate to yourself. We're humans and we all make mistakes. So just show up in your emotions and trust that anything that comes up is meant to be there.